Story 1. I knew something was wrong with the room before I even put my bag down. It was almost 2 in the morning and I had been driving for more than 7 hours through rain so heavy that the highway looked like black glass. I was supposed to make it to my cousin's place before midnight, but an accident had shut down 2 lanes, and after sitting in traffic for nearly an hour, I gave up. The next motel sign I saw was the one I stopped at. It was one of those old roadside places with outside doors, a flickering vacancy sign, and a parking lot that looked too empty for how many rooms it had. The office smelled like old coffee and carpet cleaner. The guy behind the counter barely looked up from his phone when I walked in. "Just one night?" he asked. "Yeah, just one." He slid a key across the counter before I even finished paying. Room 14. I remember that because the number was written on a little plastic tag attached to the key, not a card, an actual metal key. That should have been the first sign. I parked right in front of the room, grabbed my backpack, and jogged through the rain to the door. The lock stuck a little when I turned the key, but it opened. The room was dark, except for the red standby light on the TV. I reached inside, found the switch, and turned on the lamp by the door. That's when I stopped. The bed wasn't made. Not messy like housekeeping did a bad job. Messy like someone had been lying in it 10 minutes earlier. The blanket was pulled halfway down. One pillow was dented. The sheet had a deep wrinkle down the middle, like someone had rolled out of bed in a hurry. I stood in the doorway for a few seconds, listening. No shower running, no footsteps, no breathing, just the soft buzz of the lamp and the rain hitting the pavement outside. I backed out and looked at the number on the door. 14. Then I looked at the key tag. 14. I went back to the office. The guy behind the counter seemed annoyed before I even spoke. "Someone's been in that room," I said. He stared at me. "What do you mean?" "The bed's used." He sighed like I had just asked him to rebuild the place. "That room's empty. It's not cleaned." He leaned back in his chair and looked toward the hallway behind him. Then he grabbed a clipboard from under the counter and flipped a page. "Room 14 was cleaned this afternoon. I'm telling you, someone was in there." He looked at me for a long second and said, "Do you want another room or not?" That answer bothered me more than it should have. Not sorry, not let me check, just annoyed that I noticed. I almost asked for my money back and left, but I was exhausted. My eyes were burning, my clothes were damp, and I knew if I kept driving I'd fall asleep behind the wheel. So I took another key. Room 9. This one was closer to the office, which made me feel slightly better. I opened the door carefully this time. The bed was made. The bathroom light was off. The room smelled like cheap soap and damp carpet. It looked normal. I put my backpack on the chair, locked the door, latched the chain, and checked the window. The curtains were closed, but I still pulled them tighter. Then I noticed the TV remote. It was sitting on the bed. Not the nightstand, not the little table. The bed, right in the center. I didn't think much of it at first. I moved it to the nightstand, took off my shoes, and went into the bathroom. I washed my face, brushed my teeth, and tried to calm myself down. When I came back out, the remote was back on the bed. Same spot, dead center. I just stared at it. Then I looked at the door. Still locked, chain still on, window still closed. I picked up the remote again, slower this time, and put it under my backpack on the chair. I wanted to know if I was losing it. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. Nothing happened. 5 minutes. 10. The rain outside got softer. The room felt too quiet without it. Eventually, I told myself I was just tired. Maybe I put it there and forgot. Maybe the motel had already gotten into my head. I turned off the lamp and lay down fully dressed. I didn't sleep. Not really. I drifted in and out, waking at every sound. Pipes clicking, wind pushing against the door, a car passing somewhere far away. Then around 3:20, I heard something inside the room. A soft plastic click. I opened my eyes. The TV turned on. Not loud, not bright, just static. Gray noise filled the screen and flickered across the room. I sat up so fast my stomach dropped. The remote was no longer under my backpack. It was on the floor, in front of the TV. I didn't move for a few seconds. Then the static cut out. The screen went black, and in the reflection, I saw the bathroom door behind me. It was open. I knew I had closed it. I turned slowly. The bathroom light was still off, but the door was open just enough to show the mirror above the sink. And in that mirror, for half a second, I thought I saw someone standing behind the shower curtain. I grabbed my backpack, my shoes, and the key all at once. I didn't turn the lamp on. I didn't check the bathroom. I just went for the door. That's when something knocked from the other side. 3 slow knocks. Not from outside, from the connecting door. I hadn't even noticed the room had one. It was on the far wall, half hidden behind a chair. A locked interior door connecting room 9 to the room beside it. Room 10. The knocks came again. 3 of them. Then a voice, low and calm, said, "Wrong room." I didn't breathe. I backed toward the front door. The voice came again. "You were supposed to be in 14. I ripped the chain off, unlocked the door, and ran outside barefoot into the wet parking lot. The office light was still on. I sprinted to it and slammed my hand on the glass. The guy behind the counter looked up slowly. "Someone is in the room next to mine," I said. "They know I was in 14. He didn't react the way I expected. He didn't look confused. He didn't look scared. He looked disappointed. Then he glanced past me toward the parking lot. I turned. A door had opened. Room 14. The one I refused to stay in. A man was standing inside the doorway, mostly hidden in the dark room behind him. He didn't step out. He just lifted one hand and waved. The guy behind the counter finally spoke. "You should have just slept." I backed away from the office and ran for my car. I heard the office door open behind me. I don't remember getting the keys in the ignition. I barely remember peeling out of the parking lot. I drove until sunrise before I stopped at a gas station and called the police. They went to the motel later that morning. By then, the man in room 14 was gone. The guy at the desk claimed he had no idea what I was talking about. But the officer who called me back said something that still bothers me. Room 10 had been empty for 3 months because of water damage. No one should have been in it. And room 14? According to their records, it had not been rented to anyone in over a week. But when the police opened it, the bed was unmade. The TV was on, and my toothbrush was sitting on the nightstand. Story 2. I worked the night desk at a roadside motel for almost 6 months before I quit. The place was called the Blue Pines Motel, but there were no pines anywhere near it. Just a cracked parking lot, a dead vending machine, and 24 rooms lined up in a long U-shape around the office. Most nights were boring. Truckers, people fighting in the parking lot, couples who didn't want to give their real names, the kind of stuff you expect at a cheap motel near the highway. But there was one room we were told not to rent, room 14. The owner said it had plumbing issues. That was the official reason, but I knew that wasn't true because I had checked it myself more than once. The toilet worked, the shower worked, the sink worked, nothing leaked. Still, every new employee got the same warning. Don't rent room 14. Don't enter it after midnight. And if someone asks for it by number, tell them it's unavailable. I thought it was just some weird superstition. Then I worked a Wednesday night shift alone. It was raining hard, and we had almost no guests. By 1:30 in the morning, only 4 rooms were occupied. I remember because I had the old reservation screen open. Room 3, room 6, room 9, room 18. That was it. Room 14 was marked out of service, like always. Around 2:12, the bell above the office door rang. A man came in wearing a dark rain jacket with the hood pulled low. I couldn't see much of his face, just the bottom half. He placed cash on the counter. 1 room. I told him the price. He didn't ask about Wi-Fi, didn't ask about parking, didn't ask if smoking was allowed, he just said 14. I froze for half a second. Then I gave the line I had been trained to give. That room isn't available." He kept his head down. "It is tonight." I tried to laugh it off, but it came out weak. "No, it's out of service." He slowly lifted his head enough for me to see his mouth. He was smiling, not wide, just enough that I noticed. Then he said, "Check again." I looked at the screen. Room 14 was still blocked, but then the block disappeared. Right in front of me. The red bar vanished and the room showed vacant. I didn't touch anything. My hand wasn't even on the keyboard. The man pushed the cash closer. I should have refused. I should have called the owner, but it was late. I was alone and this guy was standing 3 feet from me smiling like he already knew what I was going to do. So I printed the receipt and handed him the key. Room 14. He took it and left without another word. I watched him cross the parking lot on the security monitor. Camera 2 showed him walking past room 9. Camera 3 showed him approaching room 14. He stopped at the door. Then he turned and looked directly into the camera. I remember leaning closer to the monitor. His hood hid his eyes, but I knew he was looking at me. Then he unlocked the door and went inside. The door closed. I waited for the screen to go back to nothing, but about 10 seconds later, the camera glitched. Only for a moment. When it came back, the door to room 14 was open again. The man was standing outside, but that didn't make sense. I hadn't seen him come back out. He was facing the room, not the parking lot, like he was watching something inside. Then he stepped backward, slowly, like someone inside the room was walking toward him. The camera froze again, this time longer. When the feed came back, the door was closed, and the man was gone. I checked the other cameras. Nothing. He didn't walk past room 13. He didn't go toward the stairs. He didn't cross the parking lot. He was just gone. I stared at the screens for almost a full minute. Then the office phone rang. Room 9. I picked up. The guest in room 9 was whispering. "Someone is knocking on the connecting door." I looked at the monitor. Room 9's outside door was closed. No one in the lot. "What connecting door?" I asked. "The one inside the room," he said. "Someone's on the other side." I opened the motel layout on the computer. Room 9 connected to room 10. Room 10 had water damage and had been empty for months. It did not connect to room 14. Still, the guest whispered, "They keep saying I was supposed to be in 14. My skin went cold. I told him to leave the room and come to the office. He said he was already at the door. Then the line cut out. On the monitor, I saw room 9 open. The guest ran out barefoot, carrying a backpack and shoes in one hand. He crossed the parking lot toward the office. Behind him, room 14's door opened. I watched it happen. Slow. Quiet. The same man in the rain jacket stepped out. Only now, his hood was down, but the camera quality was too grainy to show his face clearly. The guest reached the office and started banging on the glass. I hit the lock button for the office door. Then I looked back at the monitor. The man from room 14 was standing still in the rain. Not walking, not running, just watching. The guest was yelling through the glass, saying someone knew his room, someone was inside the wall, someone had spoken through the connecting door. I wanted to open the office, I swear I did. But then the owner's warning came back to me. Don't enter room 14 after midnight. Don't rent it. And if someone asks for it by number, tell them it's unavailable. I had broken the only rule that mattered. Then the guest stopped yelling. His face changed. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking past me, into the office. I turned around. Behind the counter, mounted on the wall, was the old key rack. Most of the hooks were empty. But the key for room 14 was hanging there. I slowly looked back at the monitor. The man was still outside room 14, which meant the key in his hand had never left the office. The guest saw it too. He backed away from the glass. Then the office phone rang again. Room 14. I didn't answer. It kept ringing. Once, twice, 3 times. The guest ran to his car. The man outside room 14 turned his head and watched him. That was the first time I saw his face clearly on the monitor. It wasn't the same man who had checked in. This one was older, paler. His mouth was open slightly, like he was trying to speak. The guest peeled out of the parking lot. The phone stopped ringing. The man went back into room 14. The door closed. I locked myself in the office until morning. When the owner arrived, I told him everything. He didn't get angry. That scared me more. He just sat down, opened the reservation system, and looked at room 14. It was blocked again, out of service, like nothing had happened. Then he asked if the guest from room 9 had left anything behind. I said I didn't know. We went to check the room after sunrise. Room 9 was empty except for a toothbrush on the nightstand. The bed hadn't been slept in. The bathroom door was open, and the TV was on static. Room 10 was still sealed from the outside with a maintenance lock. Room 14 looked untouched. The bed was made. The floor was dry. No one had been in there. At least that's what it looked like. But when we checked the security footage, it showed the man entering room 14 at 2:17. Then the footage skipped. After that, there was nothing. No man leaving, no door opening, no guest running, no me standing behind the counter. Just 4 hours of empty parking lot. The owner deleted the file while I was still standing there. Then he looked at me and said, "If anyone asks, nobody stayed in 14. I quit before my next shift. A few weeks later, I drove by the motel during the day. The sign was gone. The windows were boarded up. There was a chain across the entrance, but room 14's door was open, and even from the road I could see the TV flickering inside.